Now in the DTM series for NXTGP in 2026. It's going to be a very special contest coming our way in what has already been a remarkable season so far of competition. And now we get set for what should be another great installment as we reach the halfway mark of the championship. Brands Hatch, of course, a circuit that isn't on the actual DTM calendar, but it is great to have it here as well with us right now. This is round 4, as I mentioned earlier on. I believe you are now able to hear me up here in the commentary box. My name is Omi, and it is a pleasure to have your company. Apologies for the technical issues at the start of this broadcast. And we are very soon about to be getting going, as I said, for such an important round when it comes to this championship. A championship that is currently led by Tommy, and Tommy has done a great job so far. Tommy was there, and he's P1 on 50, on 169 points, I should say, and only, of course, 12 behind is Connor Franson. So those are your main two contenders, but because it is the NXTGP Championship, there is all sorts of contenders up and down the order. And as we're only about to get to the halfway mark, there are so many different drivers for you to keep an eye on. Seeing how this is going to go. We've just had qualifying a few moments ago, and now we are at one of the great circuits, if we're honest, when it comes to the entirety of motor racing and sim racing as a whole. Racing around this venue is always special, and we're about to get racing for about 55 minutes of competition. That's the race length that we are going to be running here today, and what an incredible few rounds it has been so far. So if you've not joined us so far, well, it is great to have your company, and hopefully we can today prove to you as to why you should be joining us for every single race. But this is what has happened so far on this season. We have had 3 winners out of 3. Round 1, which was won by our pole sitter here today, Tommy Rezer. And then we had Gian Zutavella, who was the winner in round 2 at Zandvoort. And then it was Connor Franson, who took the win in round 3 at Spa. That was the most latest round that we have run in this championship so far. One thing to note though, in all races so far, including the qualifying that we've just had, Tommy Rezer has taken pole position, so he very much knows how to get it done over 1 lap, but can he now do it over the race distance? We've got a gold class, that's basically whoever wins overall, if I'm honest. Then you've got the silver class, and then you've also got the bronze class as well, so plenty to keep an eye on and plenty to watch, as we will very much get going soon for what should be a really enthralling race. Just currently getting all the final bits of technical issues sorted, so we can bring you what is going to be a great race very soon. So all eyes now go to the latest installment that we're about to run. So far in this championship, there has been unpredictability. There's been races which have gone all the way till the end. This very much could be another one of those. So far, as I mentioned earlier, qualifying has not really been a good way to judge what will happen in the race, because it all changes. Qualifying's enthralling, it has its own excitement, and we usually get to have that, and then you go into a race where the order's going to turn, where the drivers are going to be giving it their all, and I'm looking forward to seeing what is going to take place. Final bits of preparation then. The build-up continues. As now we continue to wait for the field to circulate their way round and to begin this contest. Apologies in terms of the issues that we are currently experiencing. We will get that sorted for you as soon as possible to bring you what is going to be a great race around Brands Hatch. It's a circuit that I've been to before, and I can't tell you, it really is as amazing as it looks. It's just one of those where the drivers can push, the drivers can absolutely get going. We take a look at further shots of the field as they continue circulating their way round, very nearly to the start of the race. And we've got some fantastic drivers in the field who very much can deliver us all the goods when it comes to racing. It's always incredible to watch and witness as the field then get ready for the green very, very shortly. And Razer try his best to hang on. Can he try and get the job done? It's going to be really, really fascinating to find out. So far, in terms of the championship, as I said, it's looking close. Razer is P1. In terms of the silver class, by the way, we have Deboa, who is leading the way, and in the bronze, it is Liam Mudler on 155 points. So it's getting very much close. The lights have gone out, the race has already begun, and the drivers are already fighting away for the positions out there on the circuit. And Tommy Razer leading us by 9/10 of a second. The Frenchman looking to try and break away for Connor Franson. Shemed has already got up to third, Silva in fourth. Lefille is in fifth as it stands, but they're still duking it out. So very close between third to seventh position at this stage. And then it's Tommy Razer who's absolutely pulled away. To have a 2-second advantage is absolutely incredible as we make our way through, but it means that everyone is scrapping away for second and downwards. Franson coming under pressure, and he's lost a couple of positions now. Not ideal for him, but it's the way sometimes opening laps go for the drivers. And as we make our way through, apologies that we're not being able to see, to show you the shots. Our production team is working as hard as possible to get them to you very, very soon. But we're just currently keeping it out of the timing board to very much see how the order's looking. But it's Razer leading us by 1 second. That is the very close to the final second as they all over the line to begin the second tour of the race. Remember, 55 minutes coming your way. The 1 minute 28. Fight their way through. Of the contest, but has surely had some trouble. As we make our way through. So it's still a 2-second gap at the front. The Polestar continuing to convert and came under no pressure at all. He usually gets great opening laps and some great opening starts to races. But nothing in terms of anyone having a challenge. You're currently looking at the driver running in second place, Michael Schmid. So we will make our way through the final corner on this circuit. And then you go straight for not a long while before you're into Paddock Hill Bend. It's the old school and tight nature of this Brands Hatch circuit, of course, in the real world. Sees a lot of GT racing, doesn't really get much single-seaters bar championships like GB3. It's finally about to get a world championship, in fact, after so many years, so many decades, in terms of Formula E next year around this circuit. But GT racing is very much known for this venue, and it's always great to see these cars as they wrestle their way through different corners. You can currently see a bit of that unfolding at the moment in your picture. How the drivers are going to be. Getting through this first stint of the race. Remember, there's multiple stints of the contest. Of course, there's going to be other aspects that can very much change up this race. 55 minutes of racing, split into many different parts as a driver, with pit stops and everything else that they have to contend with. At this moment, you're getting settled in. You're making sure you're not going for any rash moves, because we're very much in the early phases and in the early stages of this one. So there's a long way to go as we make our way downhill. We're currently taking a look at Vance Vyers as he chases Heremans. This is for 7th on the road at the moment. We're going to be our way through the middle sector. Down towards now the final few corners of this lap. That may come the extraordinary lap of Brands Hatch. Just currently making our way through 7 minutes of this race so far, and it's a 3-second advantage now in the front for our leader. Tommy Rozier absolutely going on the attack, going on the charge. He's a driver who's taken toll and now just wants to try and pull away with the race. Just wants to try and move forward. And you see them make their way through to complete another lap of this one. And it's all about, can you try to tuck in the slipstream? It is, as it's an old school circuit, and as it's a tight circuit, it isn't always the easiest to overtake around Brands Hatch, but these drivers can get it done. It just means that, let's say compared to Spa, which is a venue that we've been to so far this season, you won't get as much overtaking opportunities, but they can still go side by side, just like you just saw a few moments ago at the bottom of your picture. And few mistakes, because it's old school and because it's tight, drivers are likely to run wide, and you can get side by side moments like that. And it's still going to be wheel to wheel, so very close stuff as we head down one of our back straights, as we dip downhill, dip back up, and then get ready to make your way through a fast corner. So that's Dennis Blocker at the moment, and he's trying to contend with Vance Vyers. You've got Gian Zuccarella in the mix as well. He's a driver who's been in contention so far this season. You've got a whole line of Dutch drivers, all very much ready to do battle. And we're just waiting to see who is going to be the driver to pounce in that battle. As we head through the final corner and now come over the line. Down towards now what is going to be the opening turns that open up the lap. Paddock Hill Bend, as I've already mentioned. You get ready to make your way up a long twist, well, a long fast corner comes your way then. Initial turns. And you're just looking to try and turn it into traction races at the moment. On the charge. The driver's just settled in. As it stands, Tommy Rezer is on his way to extend his advantage. The overall leader of our championship on 169 points. He's already taken a win so far this season. He's gone 3 out of 3 in terms of podiums, and he's starting to make it 4 out of 4. And also add his name to the victors list twice along with that. So far it has been 3 winners in 3 races. Rezer, Franson, and a driver you were just seeing a few moments ago, this time in the mid-pack, Zuchavella. So, looking forward to seeing whether he can be in contention. Of course, Zuchavella came over the line to win at Sandford. Round number 3 of the campaign. That is where we would have seen Franson get to the top step. And then it was Rezer who started off the campaign in winning ways, basically. As we took the checkered flag first. Secured an absolutely incredible result. Other drivers on the podium so far. We have seen Porter Silva get there. We've also seen Dennis Blocker and Jeremy Lefield, who've also stood on the rostrum so far this season. But so many drivers just looking and waiting to add something else to their list. As now we will attack our way through. For Porter Silva, they've had a decent start to the campaign, but we have lots of point systems. We have a big span of a point system. It goes down all the way from 58 downward because there's so many positions to award points to. So if you are like Silva, who in round 2 scored nothing, then of course, and that also applies if you miss a race, of course, but if you find yourself not being able to secure much of a result, then it will hurt you in a big way. Because it was the podium in race number 1. It was a decent result. It was an okay result. They found themselves a bit more lower down in race number 3. But they can very much try and deal with that. It was 3rd in race 1. It was 17th at Spa. And now the question mark arrives. Will they be able to get to the top step here today? They're going to need a lot to go their way, I think it's fair to say. But they're in 3rd, and the reason why we say a lot, because they're in 3rd, so far, Tommy Rezer has got a good advantage. So you're realistically going to need a bit of drama at the front. Schmid looks to have some good pace. Romano is on the back right now. Driver you're currently looking at, the 2 Dutch drivers actually doing battle. So that's Kirkman, I believe, who is very much chasing down the boys. This is for P12 at the moment. As they attack and attack, basically. It's all about pushing as much as you can. And then going from there. Continue then to circulate our way for another tour of the race. And go past right into the paddock area. It's not as open, of course, but it's the paddock that is opposite. Of course, you've got 2 paddocks here on that track. You've got one which basically acts as a big car park. But then you've got one which lies opposite the pit lane, and that tends to be more of where the trucks are, so the big trucks, the motorhomes, etc. You get drivers. It's also the route for the drivers who are in that big car park type paddock to actually make their way onto the main circuit. So when I was there last year, it was very much a case of just making sure you're not getting ran over by an F4 car. That was time. But no, this is one of the great venues. If you ever get a chance to go in real life, do. And Irene, nothing stopping you from getting the iRacing game, maybe even trying to compete in this championship. Because we run lots of championships, lots of Porsche championships. We've recently done Porsche Private Deutschland as well. Last year, the race I did, when we did it, was Porsche Super Cup. So there's a lot of championships that do go on. And as Brands Hatch is such a great circuit, there's a big likelihood that you might find yourself racing around this circuit. Great challenge of it, because you're not going to get over. You're not going to get handed overtakes on a plate, but you're going to have to still. You're still going to have to work for it, apply the pressure, and that way you could maybe force a way through. And then, of course, you always love your own good traditional overtake. A great move into Paddock Hill Bend around this one. It's great. And then anything anywhere else as well is just remarkable, because you try and search for, is there any other overtaking spots? Not really anything traditionally, because most likely, if you try overtake anywhere around this circuit, you are always risking a bit of contact, and that's the risk versus reward level that the drivers have to think about. This race already seen drama out there. We are about 15 minutes, 30 seconds, nearly 16 minutes now. We're running to a total of 55. When the clock does hit 55, that will be the final lap of the race. Can always be very close as to whether it's the finish or not. Here and listen to the speed of the cars as they race their way by. Talking about racing, we join a battle live. This is going to be side by side. This is going to be a little bit close for comfort. So this is Kirkman, and he's defending from Geboy's, a battle that we've just been watching. Well, a battle that we were seeing earlier in terms of these two drivers, and it's great to see that they're going for it again. Always great speed as they arrive into the first turn of the circuit, and then it's all eyes on pushing now through to, I guess, what you could call a bit of a dive bomb opportunity if you can get really close out of Paddock Hill Bend. So, a race that is very much in the balance. Quite literally, it's not over until it's over. That is usually the way it goes. And even though we may have a driver who has a bit of a buffer, who may have a bit of an advantage, that could always be a way to make our way through. Now it's going to be all eyes we're just going to see offline. We could get a switch in position that comes in towards the braking zone, and yes, in the end it does end up being a switch. I think that was Zutavella, and also battling there. are just making our way towards 20 minutes being completed off this race. Now it's going to be one which you've got to stick with this one because it's going to be a long-term race battle, I think. It's going to be one which continues for a long distance. What you're seeing right now can always be upended by what goes on later. Apologies, by the way, for some of the technical difficulties there, but we're just currently getting through. Team doing a very great job behind the scenes to get everything organised for us, so my thanks to them. As we head down towards now what will be final turn. Start of another lap. It comes at you thick and fast, doesn't it? This Brands Hatch circuit. So, first turn. It's a bit of a train that's developing in your picture at the moment. Lots of drivers running very close to one another, and it's all eyes to see whether anyone pounces. Does anyone try and do something? That is running wide, as you can see. A few of them having to extend their line. It's not the first time we've seen it, and it won't be the last. So lots of drivers just very much pushing the limits. I guess with these DTM cars, you have to send it. You don't want to have to do the lifting and do all of those things. So, as a racing driver, they're just putting their foot in. We make our way now towards the final corners once more. Lots of great drivers in the field. Line we go on because it's becoming that today. As drivers take it out wide. Ready to blast down the straight. The GB3 channel, just to give you a bit of a storyline, as I know, just to give you a bit of a story as I know it's settled down a bit. The GB3 championship, when I was doing that for radio, they attempted to go 3 wide with single-seater cars around this circuit. It was very much in the balance until the end. And it was great to see. I wonder whether any of those drivers are going to feel as brave here today. Because we've not seen it go to that level yet, but I've commentated on some of these drivers before, not many. The grid has changed since I've done it, which I didn't, well, 1 year ago and in a complete different series called the Super Cup, but it's very much great to see some familiar names out there. Watch the progression of these drivers across many different cars, because cars to circuits, a lot changes, and a lot very much changes in the space of a year as well. So you've got to be able to, very much be able to adapt quickly. Of course, the drivers, when another championship starts, they have to go through the sign-up procedure and everything that comes with it as well. So everyone decides to put themselves into things, but you know, we get a lot of loyal drivers who, whatever we run at a championship, they will very much participate and then try their best to adapt. So it's always great to see some of those familiar names who come from a different championship as a winner of specific championships as well. And then they get to participate and come into race in a different series, and they try and win it in that series as well. So it's always incredible. We're still far away. We're still far away from crowning our champion, because this championship will be getting decided all the way in October later on this year. October the 6th is when we will crown our champion. Still a very, very long way to go until that. This is round 4, so after today we reach the halfway mark of our championship. Then on July 21st, so in a few weeks' time, we will be making our way to the Motorsport Arena of Schersleben, which is going to be our host for the 5th round of the championship. Then we'll go over to round 6. That'll be at Nürburgring. And then round 7 is at the amazing circuit. That is the Sachsenring. That'll be on September 8th, and then October 6th, we end it. And I think what is very much, along with the Nürburgring, you know, the famous circuit of Germany, Hockenheimring, because we have lots of great circuits, and that isn't to throw some shade to some of the others, but I think in terms of World Championship circuits, which we've come to know over the years, Hockenheim definitely stands up there, along with Nürburgring, and it's always great to see. But I love in, you know, things like DTM and the Porsche Carrera Cup Deutschland, circuits like the Sachsenring. And I was tuning in 1 week ago to the Porsche Carrera Cup Deutschland race in real life, around the circuit that they were at, and all of the 3 wide, all of the chaos, all of the fun that was going on. So some of the circuits that they do go to, it's honestly amazing. With Freck, which formerly was known as Frecker, the championship, which is in between F3 and F4, when I covered that as well on radio. Still do, of course. It's always great to support some of the DTM events in real life. Get to see the atmosphere, and it is always very much fun to witness all of the racing around some of the amazing circuits. We've chosen to go to Brands Hatch, which isn't really a circuit that we see in real life for this championship, of course, but we're in the virtual world. We can do whatever we want to make the best calendar for the drivers, and to make a great calendar and offer a variety of circuits as well. And on the week of the British Grand Prix, Silverstone is Silverstone, that's amazing. But Brands Hatch, also a very historic and incredible racetrack, which very much tests the driver's abilities and takes it all the way, well, basically, quite literally, gives them one of the biggest challenges of the entire season. Once again, the driver just running a little bit wide. It's honestly becoming, it honestly is the line that the drivers go for. It's always very fascinating, and I love playing a game, and whenever I commentate on this type of scenario where the drivers can do that, it's always remarkable to see who can go the furthest, who's feeling the bravest. I guess we can very much play that here today, as the race is very much just in its early stages. Stick with this one though, because there is still just under half race distance to go, and we could be in for an interesting contest when it comes to the championship. with championship leader Thomas Rezer trying his best to pull away and extend his lead, which is 12 points his advantage at the moment, and he's very much going to be looking to try and change that by the end of the contest. And change that in increasing it. He wants to take this further away from the rest of the field. This isn't one of those championships where we get to race every single week. As I said, we will go all the way to October. We're now going to be past the halfway mark. This championship began in April and it's going to end on October 6th in Hockenheim. We get a race in July, we get a race in August, September and October. One race a month basically. And eventually that will lead us to crowning our 2026 DTM champion in the NXTGP Racing League. If you want to get involved with racing and check out what we have to offer, then make sure to go in the description of this live stream and to also just click on the link that will take you over to our website and give you all the links to Discord and all the information of what we run here, and also will allow you to keep an eye on any future plans. We're also on Instagram, NXTGP iRacing. You can very much check that out as well, where you'll get the information, any news, any information that comes through basically. You'll have that very much put on your For You page. And then, not just that, but even if you're just a fan of the championship and a fan of some of these drivers, you get race day graphics, clips, highlights, you get it all really. So it's always incredible to see and incredible to watch. Wide, as per normal. The racing route, that's the racing line through there. And then it's going to be just more laps coming into play now. All that is being set at the moment. As we are way past now the 30-minute mark, and we're going to be going towards 40 minutes very, very shortly. Got about 25 minutes to go. That's a little bit of wheel to wheel there. Bit of side-by-side action, I think. That is going to be Hainen, and I think he's battling with Gian Zutavella. They make their way to the final corner. Could there be a chance for a move down towards the first corner of Paddock Hill Bend? If not, can you use it to get close? Well, he's certainly getting there. He threw the car in, hoping for some good traction off the corner. Now looking to try and place the car on the outside, looking to try and get the car rotated. Go through this corner where you stand at the power and get your foot down. This is an interesting battle that's taking place. Two Dutch drivers going for it. It's Hainen ahead. As we cut away to another train of cars. This is for fourth, I believe, the lap car is out of the way. Over the bridge, come under the bridge rather, around this circuit, and we get ready for some pit stops to come in the background. But if you're at the front, you're continuing to race on. 9 seconds is our advantage in terms of the race leader. Incredible stuff, an incredible performance really. I know we had a few technical hiccups earlier on and we couldn't really show you the race start, but he very much, just judging off the timing board that we had earlier, he very much got his foot down off the start. Of course, you don't have to deal with a standing start in this championship. It's a rolling start procedure, a 2x2, and you know, he can get his foot down, get going. He did that, maintained the advantage, maintained the lead, and has absolutely dominated ever since then. Quite simply, he's done it bit by bit, but he's extended his advantage. And here is your race leader. We thought we'd put the camera on him for a second, because this is absolutely incredible. This is remarkable stuff. And we don't really get to show you a dominant race leader in this way, but as some of the racing elsewhere has calmed down, I think it's a perfect time to make sure that we're giving the camera attention to a driver who very much is looking to try and win it all in 2026. What has been an incredible championship, which is close, but Tommy Rozier will not want that to continue, and he will absolutely do all in his power to make this a one-way battle, well, a one-way battle basically with himself, really. And that's him just turning up, making sure that he doesn't do anything wrong, and just keep winning races. But we know it's not going to be as simple as that, because races are always in the balance. We're heading to some circuits where there's always going to be a bit of drama, and you have to remember, he may have taken every pole so far this season, but we've got to remember that it can all be very different in the races. Today, he's lived up to the potential of qualifying, but he's going to be able to continue that and stay there. Very much going to be in the mix, judging by the race performances that he's put together in this season. So far, it's been an absolutely remarkable job, which I don't think you need me to tell you that, considering he's leading our points battle, but no, it's honestly been remarkable, and it's been great to see, because we've got a great bunch of drivers. But this is how his campaign's gone so far. He took pole position, of course, in round 1. He won the race, had fastest lap. He took pole position in race 2, got second, got fastest lap. Got pole position in race 3, got second. So, you know, he's not had it all his way, but across the board, he's definitely been one of the more consistent drivers. And he doesn't need to be putting in these type of performances every week in, week out. If you can get those firsts occasionally in this 8-round season, and then get seconds, get thirds, but then you're getting another driver who maybe wins a race and then finishes 9th, it's not going to be, you know, quite the same. I think we're seeing a battle on the circuit now as we race our way by. So that is going to be Zutavella and Hayden continuing their scrap. Of course they are. And it's getting close between them now. Getting very, very close. They will push through. Over the curbs. Twists and turns, basically, that this Brands Hatch circuit offers. Very easy to dip a tyre into that gravel that you can see and make a bit of an error. Getting a little bit gloomy out there on the circuit. Not trying to suggest anything, but it is getting a little bit darker from our picture that we have. So there's always very much a lot of possibilities. It all can change very quickly. Remember, it is also, we're here at Brands Hatch, so you've got to contend with the British weather. Very much do. So clouds in the air, and it's not the great summer days. It's not the heat wave type day that the UK has been experiencing over the last few days. Just taking a look at the advantage, Tommy Rozier, 18.7 seconds. Incredible. He's on for one of the more dominant victories of the season, considering we had races at, for example, like in Zandvoort, where they were separated by a few seconds. He's very much pulling away. Just a reminder, so far we've been to Red Bull Ring, that was round 1. We've also been to Zandvoort. Then we were at Spa for round 3. Apologies that there wasn't actually any broadcast, a broadcast for that. Great to be back with you for round 4. Here live on the NXTGP iRacing YouTube channel. Make sure to like and subscribe, not only for this championship specifically, but all the other races that usually run. Because as I mentioned, we have Carrera Cups, Porsche Carrera Cups running, and a lot else, and you really don't know what's next. Because once we're done here, there's always going to be other things that will soon begin and soon get started. So a few drivers just making their pit stops now. This is a good moment to do so, and that's what they're attempting as it stands. Now we will blast our way with our P1 driver through the final few corners. We'll go further back, because that's where it appears like some of the battling is. That's Zutavella there to attack. That is Lucas Romano. Dutch driver trying to go on the charge. They fly past our camera down there. Oh, and take a look at that. The circuit's light. The circuit's getting a bit of light. The clouds are disappearing just a little bit. I mean, we just had a bit of a look, top of screen, of a big cloud. But other than that, it's going back to a bit more sunny condition. That's how quickly it can change for the British weather. Very realistic. It honestly does just sometimes change like that. So from the gloominess back to a day at the end of June, it seems. But focusing on in this battle, Zutavella going to be chasing down Romano. Are we going to get a move? We're just waiting to see. That's a good exit through turn 1. Able to hook the inside line a little bit for Zutavella. Now does he get a chance to go to the inside line? Waiting, and then waiting again. And then it's all about, can you try and stand under power at some point and take the place? Not at the moment. Not as it stands. But once you're this close, naturally you're going to be forcing your rival off the racing line. We'll go from, and then very much go from there. See if you can force your rival into a position that isn't quite ideal on a specific corner. Try and get the cut back. Just naturally make them try and defend their place a little bit more. And that helps. That will help you helping all the time. Main overtaking opportunity, of course, comes into Paddock Bend, and then we'll wait and see whether we're going to be getting exactly that. So now we've gone to a bit of a different scrap. So this is Kirkman behind Gabuz. That's what's currently is ongoing on the circuit. 11 seconds of the gap out in front. 11.5 as it stands. Thank you for sticking with this one. It's a race which we'll keep an eye and see whether it comes alive later. But for now, we're getting a few scraps that are developing in the pack where there might be some gaps, but there is some battles inside of it. Understand, you've got a battle for 7th, you've got a battle for 9th, and then a battle for 12th. That is now going to be this is the battle for 9th that's ongoing. So you can currently see the picture 9th, 10th and 11th. Vance Wyers trying to attack Ibova. Haskinen is 9th. 7 seconds away from the other battle that we've got on the circuit, Lucas Romano versus Kian Zuchavella. Continuing to follow this. No one able to shape for a move as of yet. All eyes now to bring this one home, because scoring the points is so important in a long-term championship, especially if you are involved in a championship battle. Just to quickly run you through some of the drivers nearer to the front of the championship heading into today. Razer was P1, that's your current race leader. Connor Franson second. Ian Zuchavella third. Jeremy Neufeld in fourth. Dennis Blocker fifth. Lucas Romano sixth. Jimova seventh. Myers eighth. That's Haynen ninth. And Verlem in 10th. Lots of names that we've mentioned in there currently involved in some of the scraps and some of the higher positions that we've seen so far. And that is exactly why they're just now focusing on making these maneuvers, because that could be big, that could be very important come later. Very much this is going to be one of those championships, but they're only being 8 races, where when you get to the end, maybe the leader might have a gap, maybe the top 3 places could be a bit split depending on what type of championship we get. Is it one that's in the balance till the end or not? But no matter what championship it is, you may have a dominant champion at the front. That's if we do get one. That's if Tommy Razer is able to now take advantage of this from this point onwards. But typically that's not the case. Let's look at how close it's getting out on the circuit now. But yeah, typically we don't see that, but what you will always see is there'll be points separating a few of the drivers in the mid-pack. This is Van Vyers versus De Boven, so 2 of the drivers we were just mentioning a few moments ago, now going into combat. So Van Vyers chasing down what is currently 10th position. They're not too far away from Cass Haynen either, so that could be a scrap that also happens very soon. As now Van Vyers getting closer, not able to do anything into the corner. It's just being patient, which you've got to be around this circuit. If you can stay in close proximity behind, if you can continue to try and apply the pressure, then maybe you will get an opportunity to eventually pounce and to eventually have a challenge. Head through, and this could be the said challenge that we were talking about. Opportunity to pull alongside, looking for the outside line. That's going to be close. It's going to be the long way round, and it will be the position gained. Van Vyers fights their way through, and they had to brave with the long way round. They had to put themselves in a position that wasn't completely ideal, and it was a risk versus reward balance that they had to take. In the end, the reward wins out because they've gained the place, and they've been trying to now for a while that we've been watching. But now comes the challenge of, can you keep it? Can they keep it? Because immediately they're coming under pressure. As we head towards the final few corners now on this circuit. So De Boven's going to absolutely try and fight back, and they're not too far away as we come over the line. And into Paddock Hill Bend. So the attacker becomes the defender now, and the defender becomes the attacker. Very much roles reversed in this battle, and there we go! Immediately, down the inside. De Boven looks to try and have the move. Van Vyers is going to look to try and fight it all they can as it stands at the moment. Still side by side, and still some great battling between them. This is absolutely incredible to watch. One of the main battles that we've seen in this race. But if Van Vyers and De Boven can continue to duke it out in this way, we're going to have a very interesting about 7 minutes that remain in this. Van Vyers ahead. De Boven trying to have a fight back. Van Vyers running slightly deep once again. De Boven is all over the back at this stage. And now they're the one looking to try and carry the momentum, either to an outside line, either to an inside line, but just no way through As it stands, a wide moment like that, though, could offer up some opportunities. And Dibova now is going to get a great opportunity to try and have an attack on the outside line. That would be brave if they can fight their way through. It will give them good momentum, though, making their way onto the straight. And now, if they can get their power down, they can give themselves a chance into the first few turns. Maybe not into Paddock Hill Bend directly, but the corners that will follow after. Good exit. Could it be another dive bomb? Is it going to be another chance like the previous lap to go for a move? No, they this time decided to stick in behind. They saw it didn't work last time. They didn't go for it on this lap now. But they're very much just waiting for any opportunity, any wide moment. So far, they would have been assessing the situation and they would have seen their rival of Van Vyers running wide. So they'll know there can be a chance to go to the inside line. Dibova with a look, but no move quite made. And Van Vyers hangs on to it. But now, could the chance come into the next corner off the circuit as we will fight our way by. So Van Vyers and Dibova make their way through. And this time it's Dibova who is very much flirting with the grass through there as they get wide. They're able to push to that limit here. In real life, a bit of a different story. Most likely you'd be spit out into the barrier. I've covered some dramatic moments here at Brands Hatch. Yeah, touching the grass can sometimes not be ideal because there's a whole gravel waiting for you, and if the gravel is not able to slow you up, then the barriers are quite literally there as well. Let's continue following this battle because it's one of the great battles. And these drivers are putting on a show. Dibova and Van Vyers are going to be looking to try and now have a little scrap. We told you to stay with this one. We may have not been seeing the side-by-side earlier, but we're now delivering you with a great fight. Quite literally one of those fights where the camera's glued. We've not been able to show you any other battles or anything else that may be going on, just because of how close this is and how these two drivers have proven so far how a move could come at any moment. Well, of course, our production team behind the scenes are doing a great job of just monitoring any other battles that may happen. Car off wide in the background, so if anything does happen, like we're now watching, then we will cut to it because we want to make sure that we show you any overtake that could happen. This is now going on for 7th, 8th and 9th, so that's Lucas Romano ahead of Guillaume Zutarella. Then we find ourselves with Cass Hayden as well. That could be a good exit for Zutarella to have a chance down the inside. Could they maybe come under pressure? Looking for an outside line. That could be a great chance for Cass Hayden. So Cass Hayden trying to get there. They'll get the inside line for the next corner. And one of the drivers who has been running so highly so far this season, now dropping down. So Zutarella loses the place. Through goes Cass Hayden. And now, they're going to have an attack on Lucas Romano, who would have thought that he could have lost a place there. Maybe lost 2 places, but instead they've watched in their rearview mirror the battles go on. Now, it'll be all eyes to see whether we're going to get a fight once more. And whether they can now stay ahead the 2 that are in behind. We're in the final minutes of racing. There is not long to go. That's why these battles are beginning to heat up. The drivers know that there's not going to be any other opportunities. They have to pounce, they have to make maneuvers sooner rather than later. You don't want to leave this race heading into a few weeks of a break. We'll be back on July 21st, as I mentioned. So just over half a month, we're going to have to wait for this. You don't want to go into that break being like, oh, there was a lot more on the potential there. There was a lot more that they could have done. You just never want that. You just never want that. As they make their way through. 3 rounds ticked over so far. We are now about to complete the halfway mark of the DTM Championship in the NXTGP 2026 season. And let's now follow more battles. This is Marco Kirkman and Gibbous is going to have to try their best to defend. Keep an eye and see whether we get any manoeuvres. They're placing the car on the outside line, looking for any form of a cutback. So, device now, I should say, rather as the pronunciation, are going to go for a bit of an attack. That's a spin. We just had a moment that I think is going to be Marco Kirkman who's gone round trying to apply the pressure, but instead with an error. We've not had many of those today, but in the final stages where they're having to push, that's sometimes what can happen. We're very much now into the final stages of this one. I think we are just entering the final lap of the race. This is the final lap of the race, I believe, that we are just going to go on to now. Soon be getting ready to see our winner over the line, but for now it's can anyone try and make an overtake. Cass Hayden is chasing down Romano, and also Zutarella is not too far away still, so that could always be an opportunity for a move to come in. We are past the moment. There's the checkered flag. Tommy Razer takes a brilliant victory at Brands Hatch as we complete the halfway mark of the championship, and he extends his championship lead heading into the break. Second place for Porty Silva, and then it'll be Michael Schriend in third. And what a great job by them. The battle will still be raging on further back, and that's what we're going to cut to now, because there's not long left in this race. And are we going to get any manoeuvres coming in from Hayden chasing down Romano? This is the final corner of the circuit, and it's very much now foot flat to the floor towards the line. Very much highly contested, this battle, and we're going to go to another one. It'll be very much going on further back, and that's going to be Van Vyers looking to try and defend ahead of De Bova, and they were fighting their way through all the way towards the line, and it is going to be Van Vyers just ahead of De Bova. As we continue to see them over the line. What a great and incredible race it was. A race that has been won by the driver who had the championship lead. A championship lead that has now been extended. Razer is a winner for the second time, the first repeat winner of the campaign as well. And that is a lot of confidence. That is a lot of confidence for them to take heading into the second half of the season. Quite a special contest. And then this is how your results look at the end. So Razer with a great performance and taking the checkered flag first at the end. By what was 12.2 seconds. Then Silva, Schmied, Heremans. They had quite a bit of a they had a quiet race, if I'm honest, but were fourth. Lefil in fifth, Blocher in sixth, Romano seventh, Hayden eighth, Zutarella in ninth, and Wise in 10th. Then came De Bova, and then Gebais in 12th, Kirkman 13th. And then we find ourselves with the German driver in the bronze class of Metzler in 14th, Vella in 15th, then Zwemmer in 16th, Polinus in 17th, and De Bova in 18th position. Final classification over the line, which you can see. That's how the order looks, and that's how they finished. And we also got the driver at the back of the field of House as well. So that's how they all finished. Great field, lots of battles, and lots of enjoyment as well. I can see in the chat as well, Connor Franson, one of the drivers that was in this, mentioning about how there were some crashes at the start. Yes, apologies that we weren't able to show you the start at all. In fact, for the first few minutes of the race, I couldn't even see anything myself, bar what you had on a delayed feed. So apologies for a bit of generic commentary and a bit of generic broadcasting at the start. We did our best to keep you updated as to what was going on. But yes, apologies for that. But yeah, there was a lot of crashes, there was a lot of moments, and I'm sure you'll be able to see a lot of it in the Discord. Okay, well, that's going to bring an end to our coverage here. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much to the production team as well behind the scenes. That is round 4 done. We will now be preparing for the next contest of the season. And the next contest will be on July 21st when we go to the Motorsport Arena, Schersleben. Looking forward to seeing the next contest then in round 5. But for myself, Omi, it is very much thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.